They say danger always hides in the shadows, but sometimes danger lives right inside the house with us. This is the story of Zainab, a bright little girl loved by many but betrayed by the one person everyone trusted. This is a story of silence, pain, and the courage to finally speak, because sometimes the loudest cries are the ones nobody hears. So before we begin, make sure you subscribe, turn on the notification bell, and like this video. You wouldn't want to miss more true African stories. And please, share this video with your friends and family, because what you are about to watch could happen to any child, anywhere. Pay attention and learn from it. And remember, not everyone you call family truly mean well for you. Zainab was always the curious one. She was smart, kind, and full of questions. Her laugh carried through the village like the sound of a running stream. The teachers loved her because she was sharp. Neighbors adored her because she always greeted them with respect. But behind her smile was something nobody could see, a secret too heavy for a child to carry. It started the day Uncle Musa arrived. Uncle Musa wasn't really her uncle, just her mother's cousin, a tall man with tired eyes and a voice that always sounded smooth, almost too smooth. He had just lost his job in the city, so Zainab's mother, kind-hearted as she was, welcomed him into their home. At first, Zainab thought nothing of it. Grown-ups always come and went. But something about Musa's eyes, the way they lingered when they looked at her, something felt strange. The first warning came silently. Musa handed Zainab candy, the kind of candy wrapped in a shiny red paper, the kind she loved but hardly ever had. He leaned close, smiling and touching her as she sits on his lap. But his words were sharp in her ear. "This is just between us, okay? You are my favorite." Zainab nodded. She was only a girl, too young to understand how dangerous secrets could be. At school that week, her teacher taught the class about body safety. She played a short video that said, "If someone touches you in a way that feels wrong, tell someone you trust." Zainab watched. She listened. She even repeated the words when the teacher asked. But when she thought of Uncle Musa, something froze inside her. Because how could she tell when it was family? The candy kept coming. One day it was sweet, another day it was biscuits. Sometimes, Musa would even buy Zainab a new pen for school or slip a coin into her hand. At first, it felt harmless. After all, grown-ups often gave children gifts. But Musa's voice always followed the gifts with the same words. "This is just between us, Zainab. You're special," he said. The words sounded sweet, but they carried a weight Zainab could not name. Slowly, Musa began to spend more time with her. When her mother was busy cooking in the kitchen or washing clothes in the backyard, Musa would call Zainab into his room. At first, it was only to play games, simple things, ludo, cards. But gradually, the games changed. There were touches that lingered too long, hands that rested where they shouldn't, compliments that felt strange. "You are becoming a beautiful girl, my little woman," Uncle Musa would say. Zainab wanted to speak many times. She wanted to tell her mother, but each time she opened her mouth, fear choked her words. What if Mama didn't believe her? What if she thought she was lying? Musa was family, blood, and Zainab just a child. So she kept quiet. But silence is heavy. It sits in the chest like a stone. At school, Zainab's smile began to fade. She stopped laughing as much. She became quieter, more withdrawn. Her teacher noticed. She asked, "Zainab, are you okay?" Zainab nodded quickly, forcing a smile, because how could she explain what was happening at home? One evening, as the sun melted into the horizon, Musa found her sitting alone. The air was thick, the crickets already beginning to sing. Musa sat beside her, his hand on her shoulder. "You know you can trust me, right?" Musa whispered. Zainab nodded, though her heart raced. Then Musa said something that craved itself into the girl's memory forever. "If you ever tell anyone, they won't believe you. And if they do, it will break your mother's heart. Do you want to break her heart?" The words stabbed deeper than any hand could. Zainab loved her mother more than anything. She had sacrificed everything to raise her. The thought of hurting her was unbearable, so she sealed her lips tighter. But silence, once planted, grows roots. That night, laying in bed, Zainab stared at the ceiling, her eyes wide open. The sound of her mother's gentle snore came from the next room. She wanted to run to her. She wanted to tell her everything, but Musa's warning echoed louder. It will break her heart. So the girl turned to the wall, hugged her pillow, and cried silently. No one heard her, not even the mother who loved her the most. Days turned into weeks, and Zainab's silence grew heavier. It was no longer just a secret she carried. It was a shadow that followed her everywhere. At school, she used to be quick to raise her hand, always eager to answer questions. Now, when the teacher called her name, she kept her head down. Her classmates began to whisper. "What was wrong with her?" one girl asked. "Maybe she is sick," another replied, but no one truly knew. One afternoon, Mrs. Howard, her teacher, kept her back after class. She was patient, kind, and gentle. She had noticed the way Zainab's shoulder slumped, the way her once bright eyes looked clouded. She gave her a bottle of water and said softly, "Zainab, do you know that sometimes keeping pain inside only makes it heavier?" The words made her heart ache. She wanted to pour everything out, about the candy, the whispers, the threats. But then, Uncle Musa's face flashed in her mind, his voice ringing sharp. "If you tell anyone, Zainab, your mother will hate you." So she shook her head quickly. "I'm fine, ma," she said. Mrs. Howard sighed, her eyes heavy with worry. "I hope one day you will tell me the truth, my girl. You don't have to carry it alone," she said. At home, Musa's behavior became even more controlling. He watched Zainab closely, almost like a hawk circling prey. Sometimes, when she laughed too much with her mother, Musa would clear his throat loudly, as if to remind her of the secret they shared. He began finding reasons to be alone with Zainab, sending the girl's mother to fetch something from the market, volunteering to help wash clothes, while secretly watching for the moment they were alone. It was during one of those evenings that Uncle Musa spoke words that deepened the trap. He leaned close to Zainab, his voice low and threatening. "Remember, if you tell anyone, I will leave this house, and when I leave, your mother will blame you. Do you want that, Zainab?" Fear wrapped itself around Zainab like chains. She didn't want her mother to hate her, She didn't want to be the reason the family broke apart. She nodded, tears burning her eyes. And Uncle Musa smiled, the kind of smile that never reached his eyes. At night, Zainab began wetting the bed again, a habit she had left years ago. Her mother scolded her gently at first. Then with worry, she said, "Zainab, you're growing. Why are you doing this again?" She bowed her head, ashamed, unable to explain that fear was drowning her even in sleep. And Uncle Musa continued his game, masking his darkness with charm. He even went as far as telling neighbors how wonderful and hardworking his niece Zainab was. To everyone, he was a helpful man trying to recover from job loss. But behind closed doors, he was a predator, tightening his grip. The trap was closing, and Zainab was running out of air. The days turned into weeks, and Zainab's silence grew heavier. It was no longer just a secret she carried. It was a shadow that followed her everywhere. At school, she began to avoid eye contact with everyone. She ate less, slept less, and her once vibrant spirit dimmed. One evening, after supper, Musa leaned in, his eyes cold, and said, "You belong to me, Zainab. Don't ever forget that. If you try to tell anyone, I will make sure your life is ruined, and your mother, she will cry because of you." The words were knives. Zainab swallowed hard, pushing down tears. She nodded silently, but inside, something broke. That night, she lay in bed, staring at the ceiling. She heard the gentle sound of her mother washing dishes in the kitchen, humming a soft tune. She wanted so badly to call her into the room, to hold her hand and tell her everything, but fear tied her tongue. And so, once again, she slept silently into her pillow. The sun rose over the small village. The roosters crowed. Children hurried to school with their bags, swinging. Mothers swept the compound. Fathers prepared for work. Everything seemed ordinary. But inside Zainab's heart, a storm was raging. She had carried the secret for too long. It was no longer just a burden. It was poison. It was eating her from the inside out, and her little body was too small to hold it anymore. That morning in class, Mrs. Howard gave an assignment. But when she looked around, her eyes stopped on Zainab. Her paper was blank. Her head was slightly bent. Her pencil lay still. "Zainab," she called softly. She didn't respond. "Zainab, my girl, are you all right?" This time, Zainab looked up. Her eyes were swollen with tears. She had tried to hide it, but something inside her snapped. "No, ma," she whispered. Her voice cracked. "I'm not all right." The whole class turned. The room grew still. Mrs. Howard walked slowly to her desk. She knelt beside her, so their eyes met. "Do you want to step outside with me?" she asked kindly. Zainab nodded. Under the shade of mango tree behind the classroom, Zainab finally opened her mouth. At first, the words came out like drops of water from a broken tap. Then they poured like a river that had been blocked for years. She told her everything: the candy, the secrets, the whispers, the threats, the nights of fear. Mrs. Howard's hands trembled. Her voice was steady. "You are very brave, my child. Very, very brave. You did the right thing. You should never have carried this alone." Zainab wept in her arms. For the first time, the weight on her chest began to lift. That afternoon, Mrs. Howard visited her mother. The conversation was not easy. At first, her mother's face went pale. She shook her head. No, it cannot be. Musa, my cousin, impossible. But when she saw Zainab's tear-stained face, her shaking hands, her eyes full of pain, she knew. Her heart shattered. She fell to her knees and cried, holding her tight. My daughter, please forgive me. Forgive me for not saying. Forgive me for not protecting you. But Zainab, through her tears, whispered, It's not your fault, Mama. He told me you would hate me, but you don't, do you? She shook her head firmly. Never, I will never hate you. You are my daughter, my gift. Nothing will ever change that. That evening, everything changed. When Musa returned home, he was met not with smiles, but with fire. Zainab's mother stood in the doorway, her eyes like flames. You will never lay eyes on my daughter again, she declared. Neighbors gathered. Word spread. The truth had come into the light, and the truth, once spoken, could not be buried again. From that day, Zainab was no longer alone. Her mother repeated the words again and again. She is not to blame. She is a child. She is my child, and she will heal. And slowly, healing began. This is not just Zainab's story. This is the story of many children, boys and girls who suffer in silence because of fear, shame, or disbelief. But silence only protects the abuser, never the child. If you are listening today, remember, every child deserves safety. Every child deserves to be believed. And every child deserves to heal. Speak up, listen, protect, because a girl child is never safe until we make her safe. Thank you for watching this video to the end. Please do not forget to subscribe, like, and share this video with your friends and family. What happened to Zainab could happen to anyone, anywhere, and anytime.